Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network. Hey, welcome back, everybody. Love it anytime we get together with somebody who has some kind of intuition, some kind of psychic ability. I've got somebody today. Her name is Rose, and she's known as the Perfect Rose. She's a spiritual medium, conscious channel, transformation, and manifestation guide. I don't know about you, but those are all the things I need in my life right now. She's in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. She's worked with clients, many, hundreds of clients over 20 years, thousands of people, I should say, hundreds of animals with her time and gifts in many different ways. And she's back with us. Nice to see you, Rose. How you doing?
Nice seeing you too, Steve. I really enjoyed our time last time, so I'm here for a new experience. Let's see what we do.
Yeah, and I always throw my disclaimer out there. If you're ever getting anything on me to use as an example, throw it my way. But
well, we'll see. Sometimes I get nervous about this stuff, I guess. Well, maybe when I get a little bit more practiced.
I have no expectations of anything that might come your way, but some people will say, I need your permission to deliver. Yeah, my permission.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
I know for years you've used the word psychic, kind of like a keyword. We hear that word a lot, and I see that you've shifted it a little bit. Can you share about that? Tell us a little bit of detail about that shift.
Well, what I've noticed in these past few years is that people's interpretation of the word psychic isn't necessarily what I have come to know it to be, right? So their perception of psychic is, first of all, they want to put a wall up. They want me to figure it all out. I found that because I committed to serve, that for me personally, because I've committed to serve, actually, if they put a wall up, it makes it even harder for me to get over it. So I know other readers. I know there are some people who read that actually don't mind that, but I guess as I kept growing more spiritually, it has been really difficult for me if the person kind of was like crossed their arms and said, you're psychic, type of a thing. So also, what I also came to really learn too, so that's why I asked my clients for permission. I might actually send them preparatory files. I have the angels work on them. My intention with my clients is for it to be a whole experience. I can tell people how wonderful my spiritual journey has been for me, but it's nothing until it happens to you. So my pure intention with my clients is I want them to have a real experiential thing happening between when we commit to working with each other, in between the guidance I receive before and during, and then even after for them. I really want them, truthfully, I love my work when they fly. But what psychic has had become to me, and this is where I think they misunderstood it, is, a lot of spiritual teachers talk about being present, right? And I know when I was more disconnected, or when I was younger, I got a lot of my psychic stuff happened more in dreams, and then it became real after. I was getting guidance that way, but over time, what I've really come to learn, so I brought a vase with me actually. So what I say to people is, I don't know if I can show it, I guess, because I'm not used to this background thingy. So basically, if you put a vase, like the way when I was more disconnected, if you put a vase on the table, and I would get intuitively that my cat was going to knock it over, I actually ignored that guidance and I just put it down there and the cat knocked it over. And I said, oh my gosh, I knew it. I knew the cat was going to knock it over. And so we think that's what psychic is. But actually, that is just the beginning of psychic. My heart has come to know, as I keep growing more spiritually and where spiritual teachers talk about present time and all that stuff, the whole purpose of getting to the point where you're that present is that you get to the point where you put the vase down and you can see in your mind's eye that the cat's going to knock it over, but you actually like your vase and you actually like your cat because you don't want to kill your cat. You know what I mean? So basically you go, okay, well, if I move it over here, they won't knock it over. Or if I move it over here, sometimes I could even see sometimes even when I go to put it down, they're still going to knock it over. And then I've got to the point where I just put it down and I know it's safe, right? So in the highest level of truth, for anyone else, they wouldn't know that, but you know it, right? So I think that that's really what my work has become is I can see the trajectory that my clients are going on. And I can see that it might stay the same, but I can also see if we nip this or do some energy work around this, it can fly into what you've kind of prayed to your higher power for a little bit more than necessarily what the trajectory of life that they would have been on prior to our time together.
Interesting. So you're actually seeing it, potentially seeing it. Makes sense. I mean, I've been there too, where I have I'm not a psychic, but I mean, I've had that premonition. That's probably gonna happen, like the vase example. I'm going to digress for a second.
Go ahead.
That vase looked, and I only saw it for a split second because of the background was messing it up.
I know.
It looked like a urn, and many people have cremation urns where they, leave their loved ones, ashes someplace in an urn. What are your feelings on that? I hear it both ways. Some people I hear spiritually, energetically, that it shouldn't be in your house, even though your intentions are good. You want them around. You want to respect them. I hear from others, it should be placed elsewhere. What are your thoughts?
Well, I will tell you, as I kept growing more spiritually on my path, this work really is about busting limiting thought processes.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Yeah.
So let's look at this idea of earn. Like I'm gonna flash it to something totally different. So we're gonna talk about the tarot. Just the reason why is when I first started with the tarot, they say wrap it with a thing and don't let anyone else touch the cards, and you get what I'm trying to say. So I'm kind of trying to relate this topic to the urn, right? You see what I'm trying to say? But as I kept growing, I'm like, well, that really is upsetting, right? Because sometimes I have them shuffle the cards, right? If I keep believing that every time someone touches my cards, it's going to cause a problem, that's going to interfere with the flow of these cards. So then when I took Reiki and I realized I had light pouring through my hands, and I understand light is more powerful than anything. You see what I'm trying to say? So I started thinking, well, no one's going to hurt my cards because I can just touch them and change the energy back to what they were before. So same idea is like with the urn, right? So it really depends on what that person's beliefs are, right? Like, so do you really want to accept some of that stuff? Like I still have the ashes of some of my loved ones. It makes me feel close to them. Like I could maybe bury them somewhere here, but if I sell my house and I'm not, you get what I'm trying to say, or if you could put it in the water, like I don't know. I haven't even.
I got it. You know what it is, and it's a word that I use a lot, but it's coming clear. It's the intention. It's the intention.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
We talked about the word psychic, keyword, conscious channel.
Okay.
What does that mean to you?
Well, I was always interested. We got to go back to psychic to get to the conscious channel. So ever since I was young, I dreamed of working in psychic fairs. I'm not going to lie. When I was like 16, 17, that was what I dreamt of. I felt home there. Eventually I would work in one, and the lady was like, "How long have you been doing it?" I'm like, "It's my first fair." I was like,
Wow.
I just knew I belonged it there. It was just the energy of all the different people that were kind of crazy like me. I mean that in a good way. But well, there's just so much light in some of those places. So what happened was there was a certain point in my journey where I was going to readers, and I would go to readers and I kind of would be disappointed. I just kind of felt like they weren't really telling me that much. And I remember one of them saying to me, they said, our job is to really help you believe that ability exists, right? So like that there's another element of this world that you can't necessarily see. They said the reason why we can't guide you is because you haven't made a decision yourself what you want to do with this next piece of your life, right? So I ended up, I sat there and I really thought about it, and I knew how much I had loved the esoteric, and I knew how much I had loved the metaphysical stuff, and I really looked at all the authors I had studied. And one of the things that I had really come to realize is that I was attracted in some cases to some information like Edgar Cayce. There was a being called Lazarus, but all of them were unconscious channels. So a part of them would have to leave, and then this information would come through. And I found it to be very valuable information. But I'm such an avid student. I was like, geez, I don't know if I want to leave for 4 hours and then come back and then have to study all over again for another 4 hours. Like that's a lot of time that I would lose, right? So I made a decision. I said, listen, if I'm going to do it, I'm going to be a conscious channel. And I had no idea what that really was going to entail. But I will say this, boy, oh boy, did I go through a huge awakening after that. That's all I can say. Ooh, it was a
Wow.
little, I wouldn't wish it on anybody else, let's put it that way.
Would you call that, Rose, a spiritual awakening?
Well, I guess most people would call it that. I mean, I was interested in my whole life, so there was always some level of it my whole life, but I went from like logicizing it, being a part of workshops, affirming and stuff like that, to getting on a Reiki table and all this stuff spewing out of me that I just didn't even know was there. And then I started to hear people's thoughts. I started to hear their average thoughts, and I'm not going to lie, they suck. And then from that, it just kept, going. But I didn't even realize that until just a few years ago when I looked back on my journey and really realized I did put that desire out there, and it does, because a channel is some people channel and they have a different voice come through. A channel is with words. A channel can be with energy. Some people channel by singing, music. But I mean, I feel like what I've become is my higher self, more in form, and I'm getting told stuff by the angels. Sometimes my one girlfriend did say, though, I did give permission at one time for light beings to enter. Jesus was one of the first beings. And she did say there are some times where she sees someone else inside of me when I'm talking.
Really?
Yeah. Years ago, she told me that because she's a clairvoyant, like in an outside way. Me, I'm more inside because I was waitressing at the time, and I had something start to form right in front of me, and I was afraid I was going to start waiting on people that weren't there. And my coworkers already thought it was a little bit loopy, so I didn't know if I wanted to start going, so would you like a coffee? I was just like,
And like you're a waitress, you're a server, right? You walk up to them and say, you just show up. Here's your coffee. How about I didn't ask for it? Yes, you did. I knew you were going to ask for it. And here's a cherry pie as well.
Well, actually, I'm going to share a story. This is a good one, to be honest with you. So I started setting my intention. Anything I come in contact with, was blessed, because when I was working at the casino, I remember at a certain point telling my spiritual teacher, I was like, when Robin Williams said, he thought about having his child, and he's like, one part of you pictures yourself being the president, like pictures your kid being the president. Another part of you is like concerned and sees your kid going, do you want fries with that? Well, I kind of pictured my job at the casino was a little bit more of, do you want fries with that? Like it wasn't like I was making a big impact on the world or anything like that. I was just asking, would you like a coffee, a juice? So my spiritual teacher, she said to me, how do you not know you're the only light in that place? And I said, well, I never really thought of that. She said, well, how do you know you're not the only light in that place? So I started to look at my life, that everywhere I was sent there to shine my light, right? So I started to set my intention that I more in myself, in my life, and bring in the archangels and other beings of light, but also that anything I came in contact with increased my vibration, and I offered it out to others. But my other spiritual teacher told me I didn't have a right to impose my light, but it felt so good when I did it that I decided I'm going to keep doing it, and I'm only going to offer it to people that really want it. And who doesn't want it,
I'll take some.
So I just offer it. I offer all the help from all my ascended masters and the angels, tons of archangels, and I put healing energy in my aura, and I did it for many years, actually. And I didn't know if it worked. I'll be honest with you, I didn't know if it worked, but it made me feel good. I did, until one day when I was working at the casino, and this lady says, I want one of your coffee doubles. I'm like, okay. So I go back to the bar and making the coffee. And I come back to her because like we couldn't drink on the floor. We could drink water, but like there's no way I could really taste. And at the time I wasn't doing sugar, so it's not like I really would have tasted. I thought, well, I must make pretty good coffee double. So I come back And she goes, no, you don't understand. She says, I've been coming to this casino since it opened. And she said, and I love to drink coffee when I gamble. She says, but the coffee from your casino gives me sores in my mouth. She said, but not your coffee. So that my intention to have blessed her coffee, she actually recognized it. And at the time, I was doing A Course in Miracles, which is a very hard teaching. And I'm so glad I was living alone at the time because I was waking up crying all the time. My ex would have definitely thought I needed therapy. But what I really did notice is that obviously it worked. That's all I know is it worked because somebody did get the effects of what my intent was.
Well, I want to find out about tarot cards and how you feel about those. We brought that up last time, and if I remember correctly, when you were younger, you decided not to use tarot because of some of the teachings involved. And are you okay with tarot cards now?
Well, one of the other things that was reminded to me recently is, first of all, about how important it is to have a really solid foundation when you start applying different things. And that's what my guides are reminding me, because sometimes people try to apply some of these higher metaphysical principles over top to wounded parts of themselves. These two things to me tie in together. And I remember when I was younger, I went to this reader and she had done some healing work on me initially. And she had, these cards, like there's supposedly this blonde man. And of course, don't I, at the time, I was much more disconnected at the time. Don't I turn this first guy that I don't even like that much into the blonde guy? And I will tell you this, it was one of the most toxic relationships I've ever experienced in my life. So I kind of forced it to turn into the guy, right? So, you know what I mean? And I remember calling her up going, I met him. She's like, no. And I'm like, no, and I hang up and I'm like, I turned it into that. And I think the reason why I took this longer, harder journey is to go, geez, as a facilitator, I really want to be careful the seeds I plant with my clients because, I mean, there's no guarantee they're ever going to fully understand what I'm trying to convey, but that's another reason why I don't know if I necessarily like to bring in the tarot, because it's so easy to just turn those cards into that person and set you off on a trajectory that might not necessarily be in anyone's best interest.
Are they okay to use just as a confirmation? And I'll give you an example here. Relationship for me was about to end, and I had a new deck. Just started using them. Kyle Gray. That's the creator of the cards I have, and they're angel tarot cards. And I said, should this relationship end? 3 cards I pull. One of them said, cut the cord. And for me, that was all right, maybe there is something here with these. I don't know. My jury was out until that time. But it seemed like that was confirmation of that.
Well, go ahead. You have 2 more cards you got to tell me about.
Honestly, don't remember them, but they were somewhat associated. I'm
not saying that the cards cannot be accurate. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that some, like I use Oracle. I still use Oracle the odd time. Like they'll flash something to me. Like they'll flash an image of, say for example, if I'm working with, I just find for myself, I'm still pretty good at reading tarot because I started with them when I was young. I used to do spreads all the time. I've played with them a lot. It's just more myself personally. I just choosing not to be that person's planting those seeds. I would rather connect the way that I'm being guided to do it now, and it might not necessarily be that route. But a lot of cards can be accurate. I remember coming out of that toxic relationship, I kept getting the Tower, like surprise, surprise, like because there's a lack, there no solid foundation. It wasn't coming from a solid foundation. So I just know that I have been sent a few clients recently, though, that say, for example, someone's playing around with the cards and then they get a couple of not so great ones. And they're thinking about it for days later. You see what I'm trying to say? So that's my concern a little bit more about the seeds I want to plant with people. And I'd like to get them high as a kite at the end. That's why I do my reading part and then I do spiritual work with them. And by the end of it all, that's what I really want to do for the rest of my life when it comes to my work. I want them flying out of my environment with me.
Final question on that. Oracle, tarot, I don't think it really matters in this question. If you pull cards and it doesn't make sense for you, You're trying to, and you're not trying to make it make sense. It's just not making sense. Should you pull another set of cards using the same question, or try and rephrase your question?
Well, I think years ago, like I think sometimes see, I have books so too. Sometimes like I have books, I have other teachings that will help me with my clients as well. I guess because I have a spiritual teacher that their books I have, and so I think sometimes the cards that don't resonate are actually to just get your brain somewhere else than where it was. You get what I'm trying to say? Like,
Sure.
sometimes they're just to help to just bring in some positive energy. Maybe you're just too far off on a trajectory.
Yep.
And also, I found sometimes too that if you started relying on the cards too much, they never started. There was a certain point in my journey where I was relying on them too much. And my guides wouldn't allow that to happen. So they just started giving me cards that never resonated with what was going on, because it was almost like if you're relying too much on something, they like try to pull the rug out from underneath your, no, that's not where you're supposed to stay.
Yeah. Yeah. I just do it for fun. I do it for fun, and I find it intriguing. It could be just laying in bed. I come pull a couple cards on a question that I have. We have like a minute left. Anything else you want to share today, Rose?
Just basically that, that I do pray for my clients to feel guided to work with me, that I'm here to actually help you to be more of what you've come to Earth to be, without all those programs that have been imposed on you by yourself and your family and society. And my real job is to assist people and to create what they want, and not necessarily what myself or your parents or your husband or your wife wants you to be, but what you came to Earth like you to be and to to have. So that's what my real work has become. And my website is www.theperfectrose.ca. I also have roseannekulyk.com, and my email address is rose@theperfectrose.ca, and my phone number is 905-526-9694. And I had so much fun with you again today, Steve.
Same. And I want to share something with you.
Okay.
I don't know if I ever told you about my mom, but when I vibe her, and I ask, for signs. Today I was asking for a sign. I'm like, Mom, it's been a while. Had some stuff going on this morning, medical stuff, and it's all good. It's all good. And I was like, Mom, throw me a sign that everything's good. Then I see you, a half hour ago on the schedule. My mom's name is Rose. Her middle name was Ann, and you showed up.
No way. Because remember, we had that powerful time the last time.
Yeah.
And I was guided today at 3:00, like at 3:00, like I was instructed like it had to be today.
And I was asking this morning, like, Mom, it's been a while.
Are you serious? I'm feeling my goosies again.
I can't make that up. And then I look on the schedule, and then
honey, I enjoyed my time last time with you so much. I'm not gonna lie, I really did.
And I didn't know your Anne was part of your name.
My full name, yeah. Well, then I'm being called to do my full name now, because like for years I went by Rose. We'll talk about that some other time. It's kind of funny, but my full name vibrates to 22 actually, which is a master number. So as I move forward, I'm going to be using my full name again, even though I go by Rose. Yeah, honey, I don't know.
And by the way,
the two of us together.
My master number is 11.
Is it really?
Yeah.
And then we both have the 2, but my full birth path is 7. So my full birth path is 7, but you and I have the 2 on our birth days. So you're the 2 and I'm the 20. Honey, I don't know. All I know is after that other time, I really enjoyed it. I'm just so glad I have a few more times with you.
Same. And
so listen, lots of love to you, and I'll send you some extra angels.
It's been months, and you show up on this day. I'm going to say, well, it's weird. No, it's not. I need to start believing it's not. And now, further confirmation. Anne, I didn't know that was connected there. Mom's middle name. Thank you so much, Rose. Appreciated our time today. Learned a lot, and we'll get together soon, okay?
Lots of love, honey. Take care.
You too. We'll be right back. Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
They'll challenge your authority.
Seatbelt on. Not the boss.
They'll try to break your will. They'll push you to the edge of your sanity. Because that's what kids do. But this car is your territory, not theirs. Defend it. Who makes the payments? Who cleans it? Who drives it? You do. That's who. And in here, your word is law. So when you say you won't move until everyone's buckled up, you won't budge an inch. Until you hear that click. Never give up until they buckle up. A message from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council. For more information, visit safercar.gov/kidsbuckleup.